Let's discuss PGTM, that is pre-implantation genetic testing for a monogenic disorder. In heritable conditions, not all heritable conditions. See, basically genetic disorders, there are certain disorders wherein the disease is specific to one particular gene which has undergone a mutation. So when we know that which gene is affected, which mutation is affected in such disorders, if there is a family history of such disorders, we can prevent it from going on to the child. Now, how do we do that? So, if there is a known genetic disorder, there are a few case diseases which I can give example of, like sickle cell disease, thalassemia, Huntington's disease, BRCA mutation, that is breast cancer gene mutations, DMD, that is Duchenne muscular dystrophy. These are all disorders wherein you know which is the gene responsible for these disorders. So, if there is a family history of these disorders, or if you know that one of the parent is carrying one of the gene, it is very much possible that we can prevent it from going on to the next generation. Now, how do we do that? Basically, that procedure is called as PGTM, pre-implantation genetic testing for the monogenic disorder. Now, how do we go about it? Basically, prior to venturing into a PGTM, the most important factor is a pre-IVF genetic counseling and testing. So there is a genetic workup, involve multidisciplinary approach with respect to the reproductive medicine specialist, with respect to the geneticist, and of course a detailed family history or family tree is drawn as to who all are affected, how the gene has been transferred from generation to generation. And then there are tests which may involve not only the parents, that is the couple, but also their extended family to identify the gene and create a personalized or customized genetic probe. Once this is done is when we venture into the actual treatment of PGTM, wherein the lady undergoes an IVF, multiple embryos are created, and these embryos are tested as to which ones are carrier, which ones are normal, and which ones have a disease. And then it's always preferable to transfer only the normal ones. However, if in case there are no normal embryos at all in the cohort of embryos, there could be carrier embryos which also can be transferred, but we have to keep in mind that if a carrier embryo is transferred, there is still a potential that that baby can transmit the gene to the next generation, though that baby may not be affected. So once this is done is when a frozen embryo transfer is planned and only the normal or the carrier embryo is selected for transfer. This is what is pre-implantation genetic testing for mosaicism. Then again, the test can be, or the treatment can be, very expensive, basically because creating a genetic probe and then testing all the embryos individually entails more skill and it's technically quite complex. But however, it's definitely possible to avoid this from going on to the next generation. So in which all diseases or genetic mutations PGTM can help? Some of the common examples are cystic fibrosis, thalassemia, sickle cell anemia, Huntington's disease, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Some of them are X-linked disorders. Some of them are mutations present on somatic chromosomes. But however, most of these monogenic disorders can be definitely checked in a PGTM. The third form of PGT is PGT-SR, that is pre-implantation genetic testing for structural rearrangements. So we all know that we are made of 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? So 22 pairs are somatic chromosomes, that is that they decide how we are built. Our skin color, hair color, the height, etc., which are defined by the genes. And then one set is a sex chromosome, which is if it's an XX, then it's a lady, if it's an XY, it's a man. So in these 23 chromosomes, they are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 22. Now, if chromosome number 1 breaks and goes and sits in somewhere else, and if the genetic material is appropriate, so we'll be normal, basically because there is adequate number of chromosomes. But when the man or the lady undergoes a reduction division to form an egg or a sperm, there will be an abnormality, because when it divides, the egg is supposed to have exactly 23 chromosomes, the sperm is supposed to have exactly 23, then they come together to form 23 pairs of chromosomes to form an embryo. So if a man or a lady is carrying a translocation or duplication or an inversion, wherein the chromosomes are flipped or deleted or segmentally duplicated, that is double forms are present, or translocated, or going from one chromosome and sitting on somewhere else, in such situations the egg or the sperm tends to have an abnormality. That in turn results in embryos that are unbalanced. So unbalanced chromosomes can go from no pregnancy to miscarriages to abnormal babies or abnormalities in the fetus. So trying and avoiding this unbalanced embryos is what PGT-SR does. So basically in PGT-SR, If a couple is known to carry a balanced abnormality or balanced structural rearrangement, be it translocation or inversion or duplication or any such, then knowing that, we can help in preventing that coming on to the baby by doing PGT-SR. So basically PGT-SR is similar to all PGTA or PGTM, wherein you need to first do a genetic workup, understand what is the abnormality, know what are all the possibilities in the embryo, and then go ahead with the IVF. Go ahead with the embryo biopsy, send the cells for testing, and the testing will help us know whether it will result in a normal embryo, a balanced chromosomal abnormality, or an unbalanced embryo. So unbalanced embryos should definitely be discarded or not taken up for transfer. However, a euploid that is a normal embryo and a balanced translocation can still be considered with its attendant risks. So once the reports are ready, we should have a genetic counseling again, have the geneticist also to opine on which all can be considered for transfer, and then take it up for transfer. So the indications for PGTA could include, tentatively, though it is not a well-established technique yet, but it has a potential for help, especially if there has been history of recurrent implantation failure. That is, persistently, if somebody hasn't conceived after transferring seemingly normal embryos, or if there has been advanced maternal age, like women after 38, 39 or 40, in their advanced age, can consider PGTA because it helps in reducing the time to pregnancy, at the same time increasing their possibility of having a baby. History of recurrent pregnancy loss. So if there has been a history of pregnancy losses happening again and again, especially more than 2 or 3 miscarriages, in such situations also, women may consider PGTA to help having the most normal embryo for transfer in an IVF, because that also will help them achieve a pregnancy which is healthier, and also taking care of the other factors for miscarriage will help in having a good outcome. Other indications wherein PGTA can be considered are severe male factor infertility. So especially if it is SOAT, that is severe oligoactinoteratospermia, PGTA can be considered, considering that fragmented sperms can lead to abnormal embryos, and hence PGTA may help us identify the most normal embryo for transfer. The idea of PGTA first was somewhere in the 1990s, wherein when there were monogenic genetic disorders in the family, especially X-linked disorders, there was an attempt made to identify based on the sex chromosomes in the conceptus or in the embryos, and then help in preventing the disease to go on to the next generation. After that, there has been quite a bit of interest to know how can we find out which are the embryos which have normal genes so that we can consider them for transfer. So over a period of time, that is around 2010 or so, research around PGTA has been immense. So when IVF started, the culture of embryos were till up to day 3. Embryos were cultured up to day 3, and around the 8-cell stage is when they used to be transferred. So even at that stage, the embryo biopsy was attempted, wherein there was an attempt to take 1 or 2 cells and get a report with the genetic tests that were available that time, like FISH or CGH, and then consider transferring. And then came in culturing the embryos till day 5, which is a blastocyst. Now, when we have embryos coming up to day 5, we know that the cell number is more, and taking about only 5 to 10 cells out of the trophectoderm doesn't harm the embryo. So this is something that is very encouraging. At the same time, the genetic tests also have undergone remarkable change over a period of time. From FISH to NGS, we have evolved a lot with respect to tests, and tests now are extremely refined and give more authentic and genetic information about the embryo. So PGTA has now rebound and is more reliable testing, and over a period of time, this is something that is going to establish well in IVF and help people not only with selecting the best embryo, but also avoid diseases going on to the next generation. So this test is bound to be there, and it's going to be even more easier and more useful as we go forward. There is a potential now that there is research going on with respect to NIPGTA. NIPGTA is non-invasive pre-implantation testing. And what happens in NIPGTA is media in which the embryo grows. That's called as the spent media. So once you remove the embryo and go ahead and freezing, this spent media can be used to identify and check the genetic material within the spent media to know if the chromosomes were normal of the embryo that grew in that media. So by doing a NIPGTA, the potential for damage to the embryo is literally nil. At the same time, it may give us more information as to the embryo is normal or not. This is a very, very new technique. It may take some time before it gets established, but however, encouraging reports are seen nowadays. So once this technique gets established, I'm sure that this will be one of the important modalities for selecting the best embryo for transfer.